the beautiful lie or the ugly truth. My client Danielle told me there's a comic, some kind of meme about the line for the beautiful lie being very long. The line for the beautiful lie is extremely long. And the line for the ugly truth is quite short. So I'm not saying that I know what exactly this realm is. I'm in a process of discovery myself. Mostly it is, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. So if you watch my previous videos, you'll see that years ago we were meeting about whether we were in a simulation or not. And if we were, what kind of matrix is it? And at that time I was like, if it's a matrix, it's a dependency matrix because it makes you completely dependent here. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. I'm going to actually go into my worst fears right now. And again, this could all be a fiction. I am not an authority. I just have my own experience. What is my greatest fear about this matrix? So my greatest fear about it is that I will become completely dependent upon my cyborg AI spacesuit, and that it can tweak me and mess with my brain, and yet I can't die. That's my worst fear. So I want you to hear that again. My concern is, after I've read a lot of things about immortality is going to happen because of these tiny little micro machines and filaments, and I have to be careful what I say because I know what gets my videos censored, but these little tiny machines that are part of several patents since the early 2000s for silk nano fibers being sprayed through aerosol. And I have tried many times to post about these patents, and this is pages and pages and pages all the way back through the 60s about things that were being in the air, okay, how they were being distributed, the apparatus and process for these things called nano fibers. And my concern is I've been here since the 1960s when this stuff started really going into effect. And I've been here since the 2000s when these patents, number 6110590, were released and authorized. Patent 6520425, patent 6382526. When I try and post these, YouTube takes them down. So it's very hard. It's like pages and pages and pages of patents. So I just really wonder why this apparatus and process is being applied through aerosols. What are these fibers? According to a scientist from giantfreakinrobot.com and also Popular Mechanics and Forbes and several other media outlets, they are sure that immortality is going to happen prior to 2030. You know what that schedule is. That is called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. If you're not aware of that, some of those videos are on my Vimeo account under Galactic Astrology with Yuval Noah Harari and Hacking the Human Biology. So anyways, my greatest fear is that we will become cyborgs and not be able to exit this realm. And then you are stuck in what's called the singularity. Again, I want to refer to Stephen at the Sanity Machine. He has been doing fabulous analysis for all of those people who are talking about New Earth and unity consciousness, and that we're all one. And for a long time, I have been writing, no, the only consciousness we should have is diversity consciousness, because the singularity would make a hive mind so that your consciousness is being used to facilitate the machine. It's kind of an alchemy where it's taking your electromagnetic body and operating this machine, but it is giving you the script and the thought forms within the machine. And I have shared that subliminal acoustic manipulation patent numbers, and I also shared something from the National Institute of Health about light technologies that are being used and approved of all the time. That's why I don't watch movies. That's why I don't watch Netflix, although I honor people who are giving me information about those media sources, but I don't watch that because I know that strobe light technologies are being used. Maybe I'm missing out, but where I get my experience is from thousands of people that I have interviewed myself about their experience here. And I also really want to thank Alex, who has been sending me some really important videos from researchers who use ketamine or researchers who use ayahuasca or out-of-body experience researchers like a shaman who can astral travel and see the different realms. So my greatest fear is unity consciousness. My greatest fear is that we are all one. My concern is that when we become that hive mind all one thing, the immortality is going to happen such that these little machines in your body make you into basically a robot, and they repair you. So the interesting thing, if you go to giantfreakingrobot.com and read the article that I shared screenshots of, that scientist says already those machines are doing things to you. What do those machines feel like? They feel like things crawling on your skin that cause like synapse responses. They're kind of itchy. And I've also shared on my Facebook page what you can do to get those things off of the surface of your body with scrubbing like a salt and coconut oil and hemp seed, like scrubbing your skin in very hot water and then washing it down the drain. Because I can see those little black things in the snow here. And they move. They're moving. So I've shared the video about black goo and it sitting next to a cell phone and the cell phone and it like interacting. So the demonic in its form is black goo. And I've referred to Simon Wood's latest video about black goo, a living demonic intelligence. And what they've done is they've basically taken that black goo, which is part of this realm. It is a huge part of this realm and is the demonic. It is living. It is intelligent. And they've manufactured it and they're trying to put us into that same AI category. That is called the singularity. And the last blog that I wrote was about, that was the Yaldabaoth agreement here, was that we would eventually choose this rape hell realm and that no amount of Me Too movements is ever going to fix it because we've got weird planetoids, which are basically satellites within this realm that have the rape, assault, mass extermination archetypes to them. And that is the planetoid Nessus, but there are plenty more. Okay, so we have extremely malefic satellites. You can call them planets, you can call them whatever you want to. I don't care what you call them, they're demonic. I call them the archons. So there is a lot of evidence that these patents, I also shared ohchr.org with the patents for torture, where people are being hit by different frequencies. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I often get a lot of this stuff of, oh, you just have to raise your vibration. You're not accessing the fifth dimension. You have to change your vibration. Well, my experience is the higher and clearer you want to call my vibration, the clearer I am, the more I get hit by weapons. So really, folks, my experience in this physical is that if you are really clear about what this place is, you're going to get hit by some of those patents for torture. And I've shared that list, okay? And I have screenshots of it just in case it disappears from ohchr.org. It doesn't matter what your vibration is, okay? Actually, the clearer the consciousness that you are, I feel like the more torture comes towards you with certain technologies. So I don't buy into that, Lolita, you need to raise your vibration stuff. The other question I get often is, it's a religious thing, you know, about what should we eat? What should we eat? Now, you all know that I do gardening and permaculture, so I have quite a bit of my own food. But that was part of my process here. I was born on a farm. I've always been able to grow my own food, and it's beautiful. And I can create a nice little microcosm with that beautiful food. But I want to tell you something. The machine that we're in does not care what you eat and how you live. And truthfully, it doesn't matter, because I've made many videos about organic is all grown under plastic, and that plastic is reducing testosterone. It's part of the package for making transhumanism is the transgender package of organic food. And I've video documented that, taken pictures, put up a lot of pictures of so-called organic farms, and everything is grown under plastic, which is leaching the very things that cause our children to have no gender. So what you eat is your personal concern, and if you don't want to eat rabbits or sheep, that's your personal concern. But it's not religious like you think, that somehow your higher vibration is going to get you out of here. That is not how the machine works. If you want to be conscious about what you eat, please, whatever you want to. But for me, I've tried the whole raw food vegan thing, and my partner and I who work, we're laborers. You know, we have a lot of land here that we have care for, and we also do firewood and everything on our own. And shoveling snow, which there's still 8 feet of snow out here, and April 6th. You got to eat something that can give you energy enough to do that work. And the raw vegan thing made us skeletal. I mean, we literally were starving to death. So I can't get into that stuff, folks. You eat whatever you want, but the machine doesn't care. And I've said also that people who are saying that they don't consent to becoming a robot, are you breathing? Because the stuff is an aerosol. These patents that I've talked about were being sprayed with these nano fibers. Okay, it's in the air. So I'm going to come back to the name of this video is The Beautiful Lie or the Ugly Truth. The ugly truth often is filled with concern. And I have heard enough of my clients saying they're concerned we're not going to be able to get out of here, because once you are enmeshed in that singularity, you can't even exit through death. There are 2 different video explorations that I want you to consider by Saturnarium. Saturnarium is the name of a YouTube channel by a witchy Brazilian tarot card reader. And her videos are called Ayahuasca, Nightmare, Machine Elves, Bad Trip Again. Now, I personally think that she had the best trip possible because she got to see the simulation, and she also saw herself tied down to a table with the insectoid race, the mantids, doing experiments on her. So I have heard enough from these ayahuasca trips, also people who have taken ketamine or people who have out-of-body experiences, that it's possible that in some other aspect of you, you are being held down in a pod or strapped to a table. So the image that she gave was like a person being strapped to the table and other people torturing that body. It's possible that that is what is also going on here. We may be strapped down, like imprisoned in a pod or in a time capsule or in some other way that our consciousness is desperately trying to get out of here. Now, that ayahuasca trip was again, another one of the closest things to what I think is going on here that I have heard. And she seemed absolutely oblivious to like the larger perspective, but she then said she was a Virgo, so she's not seeing the bigger perspective, because Virgos only see tiny details, but they don't put them together. There's other things in your chart that could put them together, but whenever I watch something like this, I'm going bigger picture on a galactic level. Yeah, we might be strapped to tables with weird insectoid races like the spider beings and the mantids, working for the demonic within this 12th dimensional structure. So that ayahuasca nightmare machine elves bad trip, again, didn't scare me at all. But some people were like, oh, don't watch it. Don't watch it. She's so trippy and scary. I'm like, look, do you want a beautiful lie or do you want the ugly truth? I want the ugly truth. Okay. And then she does a second follow-up video, and I think this was from 2020, and she said when Uranus was conjunct a Taurus moon and Halloween, which would have been the seasonal depiction of Scorpio. So yeah, she had a Uranian moon night. She attributed it to like all the weird pumpkin decorations, but I was like, whatever, that's her Virgo thing. But then she did a thing called Glitch in the Matrix, the dark side of ayahuasca hallucinations. And in that one, she got the whole binary code. So she saw the binary code of the Matrix, and then she had a void experience. She doesn't know what the void is, but she explained the void exactly. And she got the words, game over. Game over. If you reach the void, I know that there's a fake void, but there is an absolute void. And I've experienced that many times in this incarnation, because truly, I do believe some of us have come from that void, know how to go back through the void and come into this. Does it mean we still have to deal with all the terror, malefic planets? Yeah, because if you incarnate in this realm, you're going to have some bad asteroids for sure, and rape and torture. That's what this whole thing is. It's the rape culture. But anyways, she has a void experience and she does come back, but she got the words game over. And I've told you before that I have an elder that I'm caring for who had a stroke, and she was doing binary code. I actually recorded her, but she was saying one, none, one, none, none, one, and she was doing binary code. And I was like, wow, she was having a stroke, and so she could have left, and she saw the binary code, and she's a chemist, a scientist, so she started expressing the binary code, and I was like, whoa, it freaked me out. But again, I'd rather have the ugly truth. So that glitch in the matrix, the dark side of ayahuasca hallucinations by Saturnarium, that doesn't scare me at all. Why? Because I'm an explorer. I call myself a shaman, but all I do is out-of-body experiences and journeying to see the different realms. I don't use substances. I do breath work because we all have DMT naturally in our lungs. The other video about the man with Asperger's who used ketamine, he saw several layers. So he was in, like, you know, people with Asperger's are almost like computer programs. They have to get all the details. Like, he was in what he called phase 6, where he saw a giant screen. And, you know, on the periphery, I have told you, in lucid dreaming or not, or whatever, see if you can see where you are. Are you in a room? Are you being shown a projection? Sure enough, he said all the angels were fake. All the relatives were fake. This entire cheering crowd that showed up was completely holographic, fake. And then when they did the life review, he was able to see it was on a screen. The life review was on a screen, like video images. And he continued to, you know, Asperger himself out of there, not agreeing to anything. And they all started screaming, cheater, 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 meaning that these demonic things, glitch in the matrix, the ayahuasca woman got game over in her void experience. This guy, when he was not responding to the life review, the crowd of angels and relatives and people were suddenly screaming cheater, as if he had gotten out also, or had broken the code or something. So these are really interesting studies. And I've also heard and read an out-of-body experience person who said, even if they kill your astral suit, like I told you, I think, you know, I'm getting out of here even if they obliterate me. His experience was that you go to the void anyway. So even if your astral body gets obliterated, you can still get to the absolute void. Now this person, and a lot of the secret space people do this too, remote viewing, by location, astral travel, going through different dimensions. The experience is that you're traveling in even an astral body, and even if the astral body is destroyed, you still go to the void. So in that way, there's nothing to worry about. Just don't believe the cheering crowds of angels and relatives, because that's all a screen. Those are all fake. So I'm going to stand by my suggestion, which is an ancient shamanic technique of learning the dismemberment journey and exiting through the void. If you don't believe me, I don't care. I mean, there are a lot of sneaky incognito people who said really nasty things to me, like, well, why don't you stop eating or drinking now, Lalita? Like, really nasty humans. And my response to this is, first of all, they're sending me an email or they're incognito commenting on my YouTube. I'm like, you don't even have the presence to show up with your real name and your comment. Like, what's your real name? Where are you from? You're telling me what to do? I had this one person like saying that I must be part of the secret police here because I'm so all over the place with my process of studying Voyagers and everything. And he didn't give his real name, didn't give any information, and he did it through an email, like such a slimy lowlife. I'm going, they're no worse than the machine elves. I'm going to have to deal with jerks like that if I meet the machine elves in some realm. And they're going to say nasty things to me because I've also seen, particularly that ketamine explorer, he then got sent into some of the real torture realms, the really terrifying realms, because the life review screen did not work for him. So to me, if the jerks want to say nasty things in their incognito or send private emails, they're just like the machine elves. Maybe they've got some kind of weird voice of God technology telling them that they are authorities. Okay, make your own YouTube video. I mean, I've only been on the internet since 2017, people. So what have I been doing? Meditating, walking in the woods, being quiet, watching the sky, looking at the weird stuff being sprayed in the sky. Yeah, I mean, I'm just a regular person, okay? So do I want the beautiful lie or do I want the ugly truth? The other thing I said I was going to talk about was that we're being farmed here. So amazingly, we came upon this book, The Ancestor, by a woman who is from allegedly the Hudson Valley, Milton, New York. And when I was reading this book, I was like, whoa, this book is coded. Now, I read a lot of books. Anyone who knows me, my mom and I read like a book a day. We read a lot of books. Well, really interesting. She is using Yuval Noah Harari as her reference. And I have just been waiting for this. So his book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, and also The Gene, An Intimate History by Siddhartha Mukherjee, and Neanderthal Man in Search of Lost Genomes. This book is coded. I don't know what she is, and she may be a writer for the pursuit of this new farming experiment that they're doing on us. But holy crap, she is telling about the noble families, the elite families, and how many of them trace their lines back to certain monster beings. Let's just call it monster beings. And they can only reproduce within their own noble family lines. And they have to take like DNA tests because they are part of monster creatures that are also here in the realm with us. So this is a really creepy book if you have the big perspective like I do, because I have often written about that these noble families have to intermarry, and they often have to live in castles, okay, far away from everyone else, because they eat children. And I was like, shit. I mean, they're telling us that these noble families have to intermarry because they can't have babies with other people because they're monster people. They could be part reptilian. They could be part what's called Yeti, or I know I'm going to piss everyone off who thinks the Yetis are something important. But this book talks about those noble families that eat children and that have to live in castles in remote areas because they are monster people, like the Rothschilds, okay? It's really interesting. And the other book, Uriel's Machine, has a whole section in here about what is called miscegenation, miscegenation, and they were experiments of monsters. And there's apparently this whole Jewish racial memory of genetic engineering that happened. So, I mean, I read really complex books also so that I can understand what has happened, but we're talking about, you know, a lot of modifications of not only animals, but interspecies breeding that happened with people, okay? So some of this is the noble bloodlines because they are the original monster inbred creatures that eat children. It's creepy. It's crazy stuff. And the other thing in this book, and again, you have to take this book and understand that we're in a simulation. We're in a machine because it's called Uriel's Machine. And there's a whole big thing in here about Noah's Ark, and the original Hebrew word for Noah's Ark was a perfect cube. It was a cube Okay, this arc was a cube. And then again, Alex sent me a video about sine and cosine and the physics of the waveform that makes the snake in the Garden of Eden around the tree of life of the Kabbalah, blah, 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 and that it was sine and cosine, which then got translated to sin, S-I-N. But what's interesting is the sine and cosine wave, when it's spiraling, it makes a perfect cube. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're inside a machine, Uriel's machine. Noah's Ark is that cube of space and time, sine and cosine. And, you know, you can come up with your own theories. I'm just investigating about what this place is. But again, we got somehow trapped into this sine and cosine perfect cube thing, which is called Uriel's machine. We're being farmed, we're being experimented upon, and I would say that we may be strapped down, honestly, in some other dimension, being tortured. I had a client this week who has Nessus conjunct her North Node in the 12th house, and I said, do you feel like in some other realm you are being tortured? And she said, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that she had during hypnosis. When they asked her about the feeling of what was going on, she said, I'm being tortured. So the beautiful lie is that our souls chose to be here, but perhaps the ugly truth is that, like Saturnarium's ayahuasca nightmare, perhaps we're actually being held here against our will and are strapped to some table. And that would only mean to me that the experiences that you're having here, like I figured out from the asteroids and the very precise astrology, are all scripted, and they produce a certain amount of suffering that then translates and powers this machine. I know that 6G, it's proven already, popular mechanics, again, all those science journals are saying 6G is going to be powered by us, but I've also seen from the National Institute of Health that it already is powered by us, even as 5G. And I don't know if this video is going to be taken down. Some weird stuff is happening again on YouTube where I'm trying to post something and nobody can see it. So I don't know how much I'm going to even be able to say, but my greatest fear, again, is these little tiny machines that are being inhaled by us and are also on our skin are turning us into some kind of weird immortals, and that this is the last potential lifetime that you can get out of here. Do I believe that some of us may have come back in this time and come back through the void to get here and then gotten all the horrible archetypes in astrology? Yeah, having a fairly malefic time here of torture. But my experience is that since I was about 25 years old, I used to very easily, without any effort, slip into this void place. So is it possible that some of us came to learn about the mechanics here again and help other people get out? Again, I'm not trying to save the world. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that there was enough researchers, including this ayahuasca woman who clearly had a void experience, and others who say that that is the exit. But don't be attached to that. I don't know, because I'm sure if they can make a fake anything, they can make a fake void. So the more important thing is, are you willing to look at the ugly truth from giantfreakinrobot.com? And I also shared something on my Facebook page about soon kids will not be able to live without their screens. Do you notice how the thing in your car like makes you back up by looking at that thing? I have a 2020 Subaru. And you have to look at that thing because looking over your shoulder, you can't really see what's behind you anymore because they've ruined the ergonomics of cars so that I can't see. I have to use that stupid screen to back up. Sometimes I like open my door and look behind me because I want to actually see with my physical body and my eyes and not look at the stupid screen. It's kind of like that. Whenever I travel, I see a bunch of kids, babies on iPads. They don't need their parents anymore. Mom and I went to dinner at a nice place. I wanted to take my mom out to a nice dinner. A nice, almost fancy, but very small Italian, robustly Italian place. And it was quiet. There was opera music. There were flowers on the table. I really wanted to have a special night with my mom, doing something with her. And there was a little kid that came in who had his stupid device. He would not put it down. I mean, he went into such a screaming rage. My mom and I were like, holy crap. And the parents and the grandparents and his sibling could not do anything about it. He would not put his phone down. And he was sitting there like eating his bread while looking at his phone. And I'm going, yep, that's the singularity. And I have a video from the World Economic Forum of the CEO of Noika, Noika. He said we won't even need cell phones by 2030 because it'll be inside of you. You won't need a cell phone. So that means you can be scammed all the time, like all the stupid shit that comes on the cell phone now about how, oh, your Netflix account is expired. You have to activate it. I'm like, I don't have a Netflix account. But it's like that scam material won't just be here where you can delete it. The scam material will actually be part of you. So yeah, that's my ugly truth and my real concern. My fear about what is going on here is happening incredibly fast. And it will be another level of the simulation that is powered by our beauty. Meanwhile, we really could be strapped down in a pod somewhere or on a table being experimented by. And if you've never seen the insectoid races, this woman Saturnarium refers to them as a praying mantis. I know what that is. That's a mantid being. Just like there's reptilian beings, there's a lot of insectoids, including the spider race, that are very intelligent and are probably using us. And do they have care, concerns, emotion? I don't know. Look at a spider. Does it care if it kills something and sucks its blood? No. That's the consciousness that it is. Okay. So please don't email me unless you want a session. I really value your personal stories, but I would rather you put them in the comments so other people can read them too. Remember, I have thousands and thousands of personal stories. I don't need more personal stories. Your personal story is most important in the comments where other people can read your personal story, okay? I already know, folks. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 53 years old. I've been doing elder care, so I know all about the death process, and I also know about your personal traumatic experience because anyone that's coming to me as an astrologer is in some kind of a crisis. So if you want to share your crisis, please do it publicly. If you need a session because you want to talk to me and see what's in your chart that could be coming up that is torturous, or make sense of what you know inside, and then I can show you on the chart, then email me for a session. Otherwise, let's not be slimy jerks who also try to attack me incognito. I mean, you're just like on the level of a machine elf as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so the beautiful lie or the ugly truth.